Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming to my presentation. My name is Catherine Wheeler, and I work for the Florida Department of Education. I am the CAPE Industry Certification Manager, and I am so happy to be here at a real conference in real life and not on Zoom. So I have a lot to cover today. So I'm going to ask that if you have questions that you hold them till the end of my presentation, and Danny will come around with a microphone so that we can all hear your question. I do have a handout circulating that I'll refer to later in the presentation. So let's get started. Today I'm here to talk about CAPE reporting. There are two main things that get reported for CAPE, and that is CAPE Academy enrollment, both at the middle school level and the high school level, and course performance data for industry certifications and assessments. That's those attempted, earned, and then CAPE innovation outcomes. Our topics for today include reporting requirements and resources, data reporting overview, FEFP funding issues, important data reports, and a very special section entitled, "Why Wasn't This Funded?" So let's start out with the reporting requirements and resources. These are some pieces of information that are found on the industry certification format: district and school numbers, student identifiers, grade level, school year, course number. You have a lot of industry certification elements in here, local state FLDOE number, and then the important appendices, valid codes in Appendix Y and valid codes in Appendix Z. For federal and state indicator status, there are two elements, and that's CAPE reporting for the Career and Professional Academy identifier and the Career and Professional Academy identifier, first and second. There are three main appendices associated with CAPE reporting, and that's Appendix Z, Appendix Y, and Appendix FF. Appendix Z has that unique 8-digit code for the industry certification. Appendix Y is for CAPE academies. Its unique identifier is that 3-digit number assigned with each CAPE academy. And Appendix FF is all career-themed courses and industry certifications registered by that district, and this is what is used for FEFP funding eligibility. So on the Appendix Z industry certification identifier, that main unique field is that industry certification identifier. It also has the industry certification title, certifying agency, name, if it's school grades eligible, if it's Perkins technical, well, we don't call it technical skills attainment anymore, it's Perkins 5 eligible, and additional FTE eligible under statute. And the type, if it's a type 1 is industry certification, type 2 is CAPE acceleration industry certification, 3 is digital tool certificate. If there's a differentiated waiver of certification requirements, and the weight for the FEFP calculation. So we do update this throughout the year, and that is primarily because once the CAPE list is adopted, any new industry certifications that are included on there go to be reviewed to see if they're eligible for an articulation agreement towards a specific degree program in the Florida college system. And if the funding weight changes on that industry certification, then we go back later and we update Appendix Z. Appendix Y is the CAPE academies appendices, and this includes middle school and high school CAPE academies, That unique field that's on there is the Academy identifier, which is a 3-digit code that's assigned when the Academy is registered. And Appendix FF, this is all the courses that the district registers with all of the certifications that could be earned in that career-themed course. A career-themed course is a course or a course in a series of courses that lead to an industry certification on the CAPE industry certification funding list. And all of the certifications and courses that are on here are the ones that will be eligible for funding. This appendix includes the district number name, the school number name, course number, an indicator if it's a dual enrollment course number, and all of the certifications. You can register up to 15 with each course. Okay, so let's talk about the data reporting overview. This is the standard data reporting cycle. Survey 2 takes place in October, and that is when you report Career and Professional Academy identifier on the federal and state indicator status format. During Survey 3, you also report Career and Professional Academy identifier on that format. Survey 5, which is July through October, is when you report Career and Professional Academy identifier on 2 formats, the federal state indicator status and industry certification. And in this, you report industry certifications and certificates that are earned and attempted on the industry certification format, including the industry certification identifier and the outcome. And then you also report student performance and CAPE innovation courses if your district is using those. We have 3 main types of industry certifications included on the list. One is CAPE digital tool certificates. Those are for students in grades K through 8, and they're weighted at a 0.025 FTE each. CAPE industry certifications are for students in grades 6 through 12. They can be a 0.1 or a 0.2 FTE. And CAPE acceleration industry certifications are also for 6 through 12 students, but they have a much higher funding weight due to the number of the number of college credits that are articulated through those. And so they're funded at 0.5 or 1.0. So what is reported on the industry certification format? Outcomes for all CAPE certifications and digital tool certificates, your outcomes for CAPE innovation courses, and any other Perkins attainment accountability measures on Appendix Z. So CAPE course reporting requirements. You would report the course number in which the student attempted or earned the industry certification. The course numbers may be reported for digital tool certificates, but they are not required. If you have a student who's in K through 5, I believe it's not possible to report a course number, so you would enter all zeros in that field. And for CAPE acceleration industry certifications, if the course is a career education course, a valid CTE AGE program code must be reported. So a special note on reporting dual enrollment courses on the industry certification format. Report only certification that was attempted in the course. This format cannot be used to report post-secondary dual enrollment course information for students who did not attempt an industry certification. Dual enrollment students may be funded in the FEFP. Under certain circumstances, the certification cannot be fundable in another post-secondary appropriation. So if you have a student who earns an industry certification that's on both lists, and they're dual enrolled, typically you would get funded through the post-secondary list. And that's what you want because you probably end up getting more money that way. We do have like a system where if you have a student that you report in the FEFP as earning a CAPE post-secondary certification. We have a system that will check for that, so you won't be funded for it in the FEFP, you'll be funded for it in CAPE post-secondary. Okay, the element for identifying dual enrollment funding eligibility, dual enrollment type. This is used to determine whether a certification earned through dual enrollment is fundable. Districts will identify the post-secondary institution in which the dual enrollment occurred, if it was a district technical center or a charter technical center, FCS institution, a non-public institution, or a state university. Reporting outcomes, the data element is industry certification outcome. The final outcome is what is reported for industry certification. If the student took the certification more than once, only report the outcome of the final attempt. And for reporting CAPE and digital tool certificates, P is for pass, F is for fail. For CAPE innovation courses, the certification code for that is CAPE I001. Districts are required to report on all outcomes, even if a student did not take the advanced placement assessment or the industry certification exam. A P would be entered if the student passed all of the required assessments, both academic and the industry certification for that course. And this is a schedule of the reporting outcomes for CAPE Innovation course. These are somewhat like less common in districts. I know there are still a few districts that do offer CAPE Innovation courses. This is in here for your reference. So when to report an outcome. Certifications are reported in the year that they were earned. Reporting linked to a prior year course is allowed for certain certifications. If there's a gap between when the student completes the course and when they sit for the industry certification exam, districts can report prior year data using the school year of submission and the school year that the course was taken in. For reporting industry certification, you probably all know by now that you have to report the earned date with that industry certification. And if the certification requires multiple exams, then you report the date on which the last exam was taken that qualifies the student for that certification. Reporting outcomes when work experience is required. An industry certification identifier may be reported as an attempt when all exams have been taken and any requirements other than work experience are satisfied. Students should not be reported with an F for 2 consecutive years if the only certification requirement is outstanding work experience. So some special notes about CAPE digital tool certificates. You cannot use prior year reporting for CAPE digital tool certificates. Students who earn additional FTE membership for a CAPE digital tool certificate may not use the previously funded exam to satisfy the requirements for any other industry certification or certificate. So I know we have some digital tools and the Microsoft certification exams like Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, which are also required for some Microsoft certifications. You can't report a student who passed Microsoft Excel as a digital tool certificate and then apply it to that industry certification. So some FEFP funding issues. The FEFP calculation includes additional membership for certifications and certificates earned on the CAPE list. You have to see Appendix Z for information on which certification codes are eligible for FEFP funding, and calculation is completed by the Department of Education based on reported data elements. Allocation and expenditure requirements for funds received from this calculation. Each district is required to allocate at least 80% of the funds provided for industry certification exams in accordance with the law to the program that generated those funds. The allocation may not be used to supplant funds provided for basic operation of the program. Teacher bonuses. Districts are required to pay teacher bonuses to each classroom teacher who provided direct instruction for that certification. So bonuses are awarded to teachers who are employed by the district in the year in which the FTE is included in the calculation. So teachers who had their students earn industry certifications in this past school year that just ended will receive that bonus next school year. And it's up to the districts to determine which teachers qualify for the bonus under statute. And these are the required teacher bonuses based upon funding weight. Teachers, a district may decide that there are 2 teachers that deserve the bonus for a particular industry certification being earned. They don't split the bonus, they each get the same bonus. Teacher bonus information must be recorded in the staff information system. That's additional compensation type element code 4. It's recorded on surveys 2 and 3 for scheduled bonuses. Additional compensation type value element code 4 followed by 7-digit bonus figure, which includes 2 decimal places. So for example, 450 would be entered as 400,450,000. So test administration procedures. Industry certifications that are not administered in accordance with the rule cannot be reported for funding or any other purposes. And these requirements include the exam must not have been administered more than 3 times in a school year, and there has to be a minimum of 20 days required between test administrations. So now we'll go over some important data reports. Data reports on funding calculation at the student level. We have the F7 1297, which is created with the FEFP calculations. And it includes the district of instruction, survey number, school of instruction, the student information, the industry certification ID, the year earned, the grade level, course, funding weight, district prorated FTE, capped FTE, if applicable. It's only for it's only for middle school students, capped FTE and prorated FTE. So some notes on F7 1297. District prorated FTE, if the if the student was subject to a proration because the same certification was reported for funding in more than 1 district in the same year, 1 when reported by just 1 district, 2 when reported by 2 districts, 3 or more. You know, if the student has been in 3 different districts and all 3 districts are trying to claim the same certification for that 1 student. The capped FTE indicator is, for K through 8 students, they're capped at a 0.1 FTE per school year. You would see a Y for yes in this column if the student was subject to that funding cap. and then a prorated FTE value if the student level funding cap was applied, calculated by multiplying the estimated proportionate share of funding weight by 0.1 FTE. So the F7 14 15 is an on-demand report, and it has the same exact programming as the F7 12 97, but you must have reported data on the industry certification format so that you can run this report. So if you get your data in by load date, you should be able to run the F7 14 15 and kind of get an idea of what your funding will be like before the F7 12 97 is released. Now I have very exciting news about a new report that is now available. I did send out, I passed around a handout for you with various CAPE reports. So on the front side is, you know, some reports on CAPE academies and career and professional members, CAPE Academy membership. On the back side, you have the student level funding report. So that F7 12 97 and the F7 14 15 that I just talked about, but brand new is this F7 15 35. So this is an on-demand report that you can use to check for industry certifications that have been reported by your district but are not being funded. And so in order to make use of this report, you need to submit your data by the load date, and then you can use this report to determine if updates to registered career themed courses need to be made. And if so, those can be made by your CTE director and their staff during that third and final career themed course window, which is July 15th through August 10th. So this report is really neat because, I mean, it includes, you know, all the student information, the school, the cert ID, all that, you know, about what the certification is and the funding weight and what course it's being offered in. And then at the end, all the way to the right, you have some columns that flag, is this course on Appendix FF? Is this course on Appendix FF with the certification? Was this certification funded in a prior year? If this was funded in a prior year, in what district? And if funded in a prior year, in what year? So this is very useful to districts, because then you can identify right away which are the certifications that, you know, maybe they're not being funded because they're not on Appendix FF. So you can give this to your CTE director and say, we need to, you know, if these are eligible to be registered as career themed courses, we need to go ahead and get them registered so that we can get funded for them. So should help reduce some headaches is the idea. This is the CAPE data reports handout that I passed around. So now a very, very important question that we get a lot from time to time is, why wasn't this funded? We have 6 top reasons why industry certifications don't get funded. Number 1 is the industry certification record is created locally, but not sent to FLDOE. So if you're not sure, you need to request the O file, the F7 14 33O, and verify that it contains the number of records that you expect. Check for specific schools, certifications, and students. Number 2, industry certification record received reject errors, causing the record to not load to FLDOE. So you should always check the initial batch or edit listing following each file submission. The edit listing is system generated automatically after each submission. You do not need to request the report. Industry certification outcome on the industry certification record does not have a passing outcome. In order for it to be funded, the outcome must be P for pass. Number 4, The industry certification identifier on the industry certification record has an identifier that is not funding eligible. We do have some certification codes for certifications that might be eligible for Perkins or possibly the CAPE post-secondary list, but they're not on the CAPE K-12 industry certification funding list. So you should check your PK-12 Appendix Z. The Appendix year should be the same as the data reporting year, and the column additional FTE eligible under this section must be yes in order to be eligible for funding. If the certification was earned through dual enrollment with a district post-secondary institution or FCS, check the post-secondary industry certification funding list, and the column eligible for district performance incentive funds must be yes in order to be eligible for funding for districts, or the column eligible for college performance incentive funds must be yes if the student is dual enrolled at a college. Number 5, the industry certification record does not match the district's career themed course registration. Check Appendix FF. All 3 fields, the school number, the course number, the industry certification number must match Appendix FF to be eligible for funding. And that is why this new report that I told you about is so important. And number 6, the industry certification identifier was funded previously for the student. Student cannot be funded twice for the same certification. The historical F71297 reports contain all the information that you would need to see when or if a student was previously funded. So at the district level, you most likely have a way to accrue all those F71297 reports over the years. So you could check locally that way, or you could also see that student turn up on this new F-series report that I was just talking about. We do recommend that you save all your F71297 reports so that you can search those to see if a student was funded for a cert in a previous year. If the student was funded previously, they cannot be funded again, even if you reported everything correctly. We recommend that you download the F71297 report as soon as possible because it's only available for a limited time once it is posted. So my division recommends that you work with your district CTE leadership on reviewing rejected records, provide your CTE director with information on rejected records on which edit was an issue. Also take them the F71082 report and the F71432 report. As of survey 5, you'll also be able to run that F71535 report that shows certifications not funded, and you can bring that to your CTE director as well. Here are some best practices for making sure that your industry certifications get funded in the FEFP. Number 1, make sure that you load your certification data by July 23rd, 2021, which is the due date for that format. Run the F71415 report to validate funding eligibility of records. Run the new F71535 report to see which certifications were reported but are not being funded. Share the reports with your CTE director, who will be able to review and identify any discrepancies with career-themed course registration and industry certification records. From July 15th through August 10th, the districts can update the career-themed course registration for Appendix FF and submit your edits by the Survey 5 deadline, which is October 31st. I've included some resources in this presentation for you. Here is my contact information, as well as some contacts for the Department of Education. At this time, I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
So if we are updating our career theme course window, like say for instance, I know that I have something I need to update, and so I do that on July 15th before everything is submitted. So when we go to run that F7 14 15, is that going to reflect the changes that I made, or are those changes not going to be reflected until the window closes in August?
That is a very good question.
So I was just wondering if it could possibly cause some false error.
I think you should be able to.
Okay.
Yeah, if not, send me an email and we'll look into it.
Okay, so we have an articulation with every riddle. If we have certifications earned through dual enrollment courses with them, can we report the certification as long as it's on the secondary tape list? And is the difference between post-secondary and secondary that districts can also report what's on the post-secondary list as long as the post-secondary institution is not reporting it?
Okay, so that student is a K-12 student, right?
Yes.
Okay, and the industry certification that they're earning, is it on both lists?
I don't know. I haven't checked. I do know it's on Appendix C.
Okay, so you can report that. You would report it because they are not, because they're a private school, they're not eligible for the K post-secondary industry certification funding.
Yeah, of the funding, but we didn't report it. So, and we can't report it now, of course, but I'm just thinking about registering either the dual enrollment course. I could register the dual enrollment course attached to that certification because it's on Appendix C, and that would take care of that situation. Right?
Yes, okay. Yes.
So we also have another articulation with St. John's for CNA, and I'm not sure if that one's on Appendix C. I think it's on Appendix C as well. But how do I know if we're allowed to report it or if they're allowed to report it?
Okay, when you say St. John's
River State College.
Okay, the state college. So you could, if it's on both lists, you know, you can go ahead and report it, but if it is on both lists, it's going to get funded through post-secondary. St. John's it's River State College. It's a public college in the Florida college system. So they would be reporting that, and likely you would not receive funding through the FEFP.
Yeah, typically we've never registered anything attached to that certification, and don't expect additional funding for that, but I'm just wondering if we should have been, because if it's on our list, if it's on the secondary list, we could technically register and report it, correct? But you're saying it's on both lists, they're going to get the funding anyway.
Right. I mean, yeah, you could still report it, but we have a check in place that
takes care of that. Okay. And then for the new 71535, are you going to check to make sure that you don't include records that you're saying are possibly not funded if they were attached to previous year courses that were career theme courses? Are you going to look for that first before you give us that feedback that says these aren't funded?
Do you mean if the certification, if the certification was funded previously?
No, if it's just, if the certification is attached to a previously taken course that was registered as a career theme course in that year.
But
Because
the
we will
student
typically do
only,
that, you know, if they, just because they earned
Oh.
certification this year, we'll attach it to previous year's courses, as long as that course, if they didn't have anything that applied in the current year, as long
Okay.
as that course was a registered course in that year.
so the only reason why a student is able to be funded through prior year reporting would be if they had, you know, they've taken a course, say they're in 11th grade, and for some reason, you know, the certification agency may have like a minimum age requirement, and they don't reach that age until the next year. That is a circumstance in which prior year reporting can be used. DOE, we've had discussions about limiting what certifications prior year reporting may be, blocked from, but we have not made those kinds of edits yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Well, thank you so much.